I'm back in my hometown in Texas when I received the news that Leela, a 17-year-old trans woman, has committed suicide by walking in front of a truck in Ohio. The article refers to her with her birth name and gender, so I remember that rest in peace is a luxury only afforded to bodies whose violence ends with death. I'm sitting in the waiting room to see a chiropractor, ostensibly to diagnose the chronic back pain I had developed this past year, but judging from all the middle-aged women in the waiting room next to me, I remember that the chiropractor is simply a place to be touched, to go through the ritual of allowing a man to caress you again, as if he cares. You see, in this town, certain acts of transgression are permissible, as long as they are covered by health insurance, or at least have a Bible quote to justify them. Is there a difference? This is the past year I've started to publicly identify as trans. My doctor does not know this, but my mother does, though if she could use denial as a pronoun for me, she would. Earlier today, my grandmother tells me that young boys like me aren't supposed to carry so much pain in our bodies. In other words, we are not supposed to be hurt. Apparently, we are only supposed to be doing the hurting. We live in a small town in Texas, which means there are crosses on every wall of the doctor's office, and Bible verses always written in fonts like Comic Sans and Impact, used completely unironically. So I think to myself how remarkable it is that one symbol can mean such different things for two people. Their clip art, my cliche. Your birth certificates, our search warrants, our femininity, your ridicule, your crosses, my classmate Ashley, who in 10th grade tells me that I will rot in a pit of burning sulfur if I do not embrace Jesus Christ in my life. There are a few things the people where I'm from tend to be right about, but I think she was about this one. Signed, Sincerely Me, the flaming faggot from Texas. The doctor traces the muscles in my back. He asks me if I've been in an accident. He wants an explanation of how it's possible for something to feel so irrevocably broken and yet still be working. It would appear that my doctor regards pain as an exception. What a privilege it is to navigate the world like that, as if pain is something you can pinpoint and eliminate, not the only thing that reminds you that you have a body to begin with anyways. This is the town where I almost killed myself at 13. I did not have the words for it at the time. There was just the tightness in this chest, the tinge in this voice, your Bible belt wrapped around my neck, and I did not know what I was doing, but I knew why I was doing it, and that felt like enough. Sometimes I miss that sense of conviction. These days I have all the knowledge to know why you would have called this a suicide instead of a murder, to rinse your own hands and crosses of the blood, as if we hate ourselves because we chose to, and not because you tell us to, as if we kill ourselves because we wanted to, and not because we weren't following your instructions, as if we weren't following God's prophecy himself, on our knees, in his name, amen. Doctor, the only accident in my life was when you proclaimed me both boy and brown at my birth, and I have been trying to recover from both ever since. You see, the thing about this body is you'll use words like anxiety and pressure to diagnose this pain instead of race and gender and all the words that never made it into your medical school textbooks or Bibles. These commandments I wear on my back since the day a man who looked just like you told my mother I was born and forgot to mention that he also prescribed my death. How it's often not about the slur, the punch, the accident, the suicide, as if violence, as if trauma, as if gender is an episode that starts and stops. It doesn't work that way. It never stops. Most of the time, it is dull, quiet, and normal. It sinks into us so deeply that we can no longer tell the difference between our depression and our oppression, between our violence and our gender, between our sin and our skin. I am in pain, not because of an accident, but because of the norm. She is dead, not because of an accident, but because of the norm. We are not broken, We are working just the way you told us to. Do you understand? I tell my doctor that I slipped and fell. For the same reason I allow my mother to use the wrong pronouns for me. The same way I tell people that I'm happier now that I moved away from that small town. The same way so many of us learned how to play pretend as children and never stopped. Because it hurts less, and sometimes that's just enough to survive.